I want to talk about a book I wrote in 2001 called Good Grief. I doubt that any of you ever got a chance to see it. And the reason is because it ended up in landfills. The reason that this book didn't have a life, I think, has more to do with the platform than the content itself. So what it is it was a series of short stories told in with pictures and words, one picture with text per page. But more, I want to talk about the platform, and that is that this book breaks a lot of rules of what a physical book should be. And that is that it is 700 pages long, and you read it in about 30 minutes. That's not right. That's not what physical books are supposed to do. It's also a weird shape. It doesn't really fit on a shelf very well. The third reason is actually physical, right? And that is that it cracks, that the seams crack. And that a book like this wasn't actually supposed to be, it's actually physically impossible to make a book like this that doesn't break, because this is not really a physical book. And that occurred to me only years after I made it, after the heartbreak of having gotten a book published, only to see that it didn't have a life. It was that I realized I had made a digital book in an analog form. I felt the content is good, but this is not content for a physical object. So I spent the next 10 years trying to figure out what a digital book could be, and what the idea of a digital book should be. It took me many places, and I'm going to fast forward to about 2005, where I started to feel that the idea was to be around iTunes, that iTunes was the first time that people were actually buying digital product, and that would be a place to sort of think about and a place to be. And more importantly, I decided that there was no way for me to actually build a product, that instead I would have to hijack a space to find an interaction around a ubiquitous device and come up with a way to make it my own, to do something with it that I hadn't seen before. And I chose the iPod, of course, because it is the ubiquitous device. This is my new iPod Nano. It's a great device. I really recommend it. It's totally amazing. But the functionality that I was talking about was actually functionality that most iPods have, and that is the photo browser. One day I was looking, I put all my photos onto my iPod, and I was zipping through it, because you can zip through the iPod, and I noticed two pictures of my father in succession. One was like this, and the other was like this. And I went back and forth, and I realized that the iPod photo browser was a rudimentary, it was like a rudimentary flipbook. And I realized that if I took these and put them into a sequence like this, and this is actually one of the first examples of the thing I did. This is liner notes. And what you have is basically an experience. So this is Talking Heads Remain in Light. But the idea of creating interaction around touch and a linear interactive space. And I did all kinds of other experiments. This is NASCAR, right? Like, suddenly the idea of playing with content became really, really fun. I've made about 95 different examples of what you could do in the space. And I brought these ideas out into the world, and I tried to go and sell them. And people were like, wow, that's really cool, but what do I do with it? There's no distribution, there's no way of actually engaging this content. This is not really your platform. This is cool, but this is not a product. And then this came out. And then, about a year later, they allowed for people to make apps. So suddenly, the types of stuff that we've been building actually made a lot of sense. So suddenly, the idea of touch in this space, and let's just go back to what we were looking at, which was NASCAR, is a totally exciting experience and very different. And so the idea of scrolling through and playing with content becomes a very different experience. And that the idea of playing in that space actually becomes something really fun and possible, because suddenly there was distribution. Now, I'm going to talk about ScrollMotion as a platform. Actually, Ben is going to talk about ScrollMotion as a platform. I'm going to talk about some of the other platforms that we've built in this space. Just to give you an example, this is one of our platforms. This is the Iceberg Reader, and this is our digital book reader. And what it is, it's a fully interactive way of engaging in books. I've made deals with all the major publishers, and this is a scrollable page that works horizontally. Unfortunately, there's vertically. Adjust the font with a pinch. Now it's very small. Oh, come on. This is we call page view. Swiping through books. Persistent table of contents. Persistent go to page. We're dealing a lot with educational publishers. Class, turn to page 56, and we're all there. Notes, live notation, notes function, really robust search, a shelf that you can look at either as a bookshelf or as a list, which you can of course reorganize, reshuffle, play with, and a bookstore, which actually, as I see my time is running, I will not show you how you download, but if we wanted to learn about relationships and we wanted to learn about dating up, which is something, let's face it, I want to learn about. Just kidding, Mina. We just press this button, and pretty soon, we're downloading a book. And I'm going to put this to the side. It just says buy. This is the largest instance of in-app purchase in the entire iTunes environment. We have the most books of the most apps of any company in the whole space. We have about 3,000 apps in iTunes. We presented at the Worldwide Developers Conference, and actually here it is downloading right now, dating up. I noticed earlier that the Wi-Fi connection, I'm not on Wi-Fi, I'm on 3G, so it's going to take a little bit of time. As that goes, I'm going to move to the side, and I'm going to show you, but let me show you another type of book. This is our new kids platform. And this is something, I'm going to plug this in. Now, tech people, this could be loud, so let's moderate it a little bit. Okay, so, oh, I got no audio.
Check the audio on the phone.
Audio is, oh, thank you. Good idea. Okay. So, an ounce of treatment, a ton of treat, the words of Walt Disney. So we're always making stuff fun.
This is George. George was a good little monkey and always very curious.
So it reads to you. Tap to make it read again.
This is George.
One
morning, the man with the yellow hat woke George early. Time to get up, George, he said. The pancake breakfast is today.
Full interaction of the page so you can really explore. Tap to go to the next
George
page.
loved the pancake.
And to move forward, and to move forward, and to move forward. Hit the page number to move to a very quick table of contents so you can zip through the book as you would. And this is really designed for looking at big pictures. So big pictures on a small screen, the iPod is perfect for it. Now, so this is basically the functionality that you'd expect of the paper book, but we're always trying to push what is possible in this space and what is possible with content, and we've added a record your own audiobook option. So I'm just going to do this. Besides eating pancakes, there are all kinds of games to play. Games to play, please? Actually, let's start again. That's one of the great things about this, is that you can start again. Besides eating pancakes, there are all kinds of games to play. Even the mayor came to play and eat, but first, he gave a welcome speech. Besides eating pancakes, there are all kinds of games to play. Even the mayor came to play and eat, but first, he gave a welcome speech. So the idea that a parent, a grandparent, reading for a child, digital device becomes a family heirloom. And now I want Ben to come and talk about a very specific type of story that we got called here to talk about, and that is first things last. So here's Ben.
Thanks, Josh. I want to give you a little background on Josh and I and the way that we've worked together. Josh and I met in college, and Josh, in addition to being a brilliant and visionary technical person, is also a fantastic storyteller. And the work that we had done while we were in college and the work that we continue to do afterwards was narrative-based. Now, I'm sure all of you have been through the experience of trying to tell a story, trying to work out the kinks of planning and paying off and getting an emotional change through a character. And I would be willing to wager that because we're in Los Angeles, most of you have done this in the form of screenplays. Maybe television shows? Yes, of course. That was the medium that Josh and I were working in and in which we were creating the stories that we were really excited about. Now, the application that we're here to talk about is, it's called First Things Last, and it began in exactly that format. Josh and I sat down with our ideas. We worked through them as well as we could. We tried it in many different, the limited platforms that we had available to us, including as a feature script and as a television idea. Now, this is all very exciting, and of course we love movies and we love television shows, but part of the nature of Josh's business and the platform that he was developing simultaneously to the moments when we were working through this story led us to start thinking about the story in another way. Now, just to give you a little background, it would be unwieldy for us to tell you the entire story here while I'm speaking, so I've chosen a particular moment. The story begins with a character named Josh, coincidentally. And at the very beginning, Josh is called to the hospital where he sees his grandfather, his last living relative, die in front of him. And most of the remainder of this portion of the app revolves around the story of his grandfather's life. Now, the story is original, but it is historical fiction, for lack of a better term. The grandfather began life as the grandfather as a young boy was born in Vienna. He was a brilliant inventor. He's somebody who was so brilliant that he was sent away to the United States, and while he was abroad, his family was sadly killed during World War II. The point that we're going to pick up in this story is the moment that the war ends, and it's really the rebuilding of the grandfather's life. Tell me if this goes too fast, and bear with me, we'll go through this. Now, you see the way this employs the same kind of, the same techniques that Josh was talking about in terms of the playing cards and other things. The way the application works is that you scroll through it. It is uncannily like a flip book. And it has options that are available within it. If you choose to watch it more passively or as a movie, you can. We've added a sound component as well, which I'm very proud of my brother for having put in. Now, I want to pause here because it's a nice illustration of exactly the way an image can be played with in this format. This moment, I remember, was really kind of a wonderful one for me and Josh because we were looking for some visual representation of time, past and present, and being able to access it in 4 dimensions. And this just popped out. Okay, I'd like to pause it there. The process by which we got to this moment, when we figured out that we had this story and that we could use it in this space, was for me, and I think for Josh, a kind of a fantastic and revelatory one. For years, we've been working within the constraints that we knew film put on visual storytelling and television. And what we found when we started using this platform as a storytelling device was that we found kind of a hybrid. This has qualities of a movie, qualities of a serial like a television show, but also qualities like a book. You can pause, you can stay with it, you can let it resonate with yourself. Any given image is something that is unique and has its own experience to it. And it, in effect, involves the audience in a way that movies don't typically. The images are there for you to interact with and play with as you like. And I think that fundamentally changes the story. Now, this sounds a little grandiose, and it is a little grandiose, but there was this moment where Josh and I were together, and we figured out what we were doing in this platform, and we had the uncanny feeling that for the first time in a long time, we'd been able to work with the material of a story, not just on a narrative level, but also on the level of its platform. It was almost as though we'd found this brand new clay that had never existed before. We could take our ideas and we could reshape them not just on the level of the narrative, but on the level of the format. And we had this moment where we even talked to each other, and again, one of these great grandiose moments where you could actually say, we're doing something that someone hasn't done for 100 years. And this was all very satisfying to us, as you can imagine. So we're very excited about the platform. Thank you all very much.